In episode 2, Garrett and I do a lot of land and boat projects and go for our first double-handed cruise together. In episode 3, we'll be doing more sailing, more projects, and more sailing. Here, we're taking advantage of the beautiful weather and getting out on the bay with some of our good friends. We had a really great sail that day, and we're happy to come back and have some drinks while Garrett did some projects. Not quite sure what he's doing here, but it all worked out all right. Later at home, it was time for me to measure and cut the fabric for our new cushion covers, and then enlist Garrett's help to sew them because I'm not super confident with the sewing machine yet. I'll try it soon. You can see the tools here that I'm using aren't super sophisticated, shoebox and some measuring tape to measure, but it all worked out in the end, and I've got some better tools now.
Proud of your sewing skills?
One down, 7 to go.
I think it looks pretty good.
Next up, we have some visitors. Garrett's parents came to San Francisco from Chicago, and he took them out for a sail on this beautiful day in the bay.
So my parents are in town today. We just went out the Golden Gate. It's my mom, Gemma, David, and good friend Suki. How was your sail?
Good. It's beautiful.
Mom, how do you like sailing?
This has been wonderful.
My parents have a 1956 Chris Craft, and they're convinced that power boating is better than sailing, which...
No, not convinced at all.
I mean,
Just different.
I mean, I have a motor and a sail. You just have a motor. It's just good in the background. Got both sails up today. It's been blowing about 15, or 10 to 15 all morning, and we're cruising at about 5 knots, which isn't very fast, but we're also only heeled over at about 10, maybe 15 degrees, so life is good.
And then we brought them home and took advantage of their help. Garrett and David are here working together to recover our table.
The table was way too long, and it was actually sticking out into our walkway, about that much farther. So we cut off the end, took off 4 inches, reapplied the end, so it's still rounded on this side. And then on the bench side,
It was also really long, kind of hard to get into the benches, so we just cut it and added hinges, which now the table will fold, so just make it easier to get in and out. And then a couple other projects are, I'm going to put a coat of lacquer over top of this, so it's obviously nice and epoxied. And then we have to put a map on the other end as well.
Cool, dude.
You can head over to our blog at thisldu.com to see the final product of the table. We got back on the water next for our first overnight trip to Angel Island, but first we had to stop and do some errands like filling up our fuel tank and our water tank and pumping out the head tank. It was an absolutely beautiful evening, and it gave us great practice in mooring and tying up to a friend's boat. Plus, it was super fun. As you can see, with the help of Eileen, we moored successfully and tied up to their boat, Cat, safely, and spent a really fun night hanging outside of Angel Island together. It was a little bit rocky, but we survived, and all in all, it was a great experience.
Morning.
What are we doing?
Cruising home.
Yeah.
And as we pulled into our harbor, we were greeted by hundreds of birds and tons of pelicans. It was a really cool experience. So I'm happy to say we're still afloat, becoming better sailors, at least Garrett anyway, and are still enjoying boat ownership. Thanks for watching episode 3. Cheers.